Peg, and thanks to all of you for coming out. I'm going to read a little bit of a novella that's in the most recent collection, and I think basically all you have to know is that these two people are avoiding their creative writing class, and they're having a sort of, they're having an affair, but they haven't actually consummated that affair, and they're both middle-aged. And the man is called Hugh, and the lady is called Stacy. And she has a dog who rides around with her in the back of her car. "We can't go to a bar," Stacy said in the parking lot, Bozo in the back seat. "We can go to my house," Hugh offered shyly. "It doesn't smell like a bar." What did it smell like, anyway? Old people? Since his mother's death 3 years ago, Hugh had rarely made his bed. When had he last changed the sheets? Would those cupboard moths bother Stacy, and what exactly was she saying now? She was saying she would love to come to his house. "I'll lead," he said, and climbed into his truck. They had not had sex, and they were going to. He wished he'd already drunk a drink so that this information wouldn't scare him so. It had been fine with Hugh not to have sex. He'd wanted to. But a phrase had been running through his head that stopped him short of making a request of her. Another man's wife. She was Stacy, first and foremost, with her half-moon scar and her too-tight dress clothes and her ready laugh and squinted expression as she listened to what he said. But she was also that other thing, another man's wife. At night, when Hugh was drifting off, happily thinking of her, the phrase would come in like an arrow through a window, an arrow with a message on its sharp tip that wanged into the wall and vibrated there, forcing his eyes to slap open and his happiness to flee. Another man's wife, the message read. Well, tonight he was going to sleep with another man's wife. But that was not what transpired. Instead, Bozo had a massive seizure while left alone in the kitchen on the other side of the closed door. He wouldn't stay off the bed, and there simply wasn't room for the three of them, Bozo mistaking foreplay for roughhousing. The noise was tremendous, as if a far larger creature had fallen over, rattling the oven door. Stacy leapt naked from the bed, knowing at once what she had heard. Again, the rifling through the purse, bouncing on her bare feet, this time locating the pills. "Hold him," she requested of naked Hugh, who had followed. He found himself squatting with the dog's gnashing teeth uncomfortably near his exposed privates, while Stacy lifted Bozo's tail to adroitly insert the pill. Hugh was surprised how arousing that was. "He's going to go down pretty fast," she warned, standing to wash her hands, gazing with stricken eyes at Hugh and her monstrous pet. Hugh held the dog's shuddering shoulders at arm's length, registering the uncontrollable spasms rocking Bozo. "Just watch poor Ting." Sure enough, the beast fell, splayed flat like a bear rug, his mouth agape, tongue sideways out of it, shuddering still but no longer rigid. "I like this linoleum," Stacy noted, joining Hugh on the floor. "Whew, it's a little chilly on the Bozo, huh?" "Original," Hugh told her. "There's probably nice wood underneath." "Good colors." "I used to race my Matchbox cars along here. This yellow line was the lane divider. My poor mom trying to cook me underfoot." Hugh stared at Stacy's freckled breasts while stroking Bozo's head, their hands running over one another's, grabbing for a moment, letting go, back in the dog's fur. Maybe it was because she had children that Stacy was so playful. Hugh toyed with the passed-out dog's tongue, putting it through the front teeth so that the animal had the aspect of intelligence, alert as Lassie, pondering a point. When he moved it to hang out the side of the jaw, the dog looked dumb, goofy and drunk as a cartoon, all from the position of the tongue. Stacy laughed, then cried. "Please, God, don't let this one die," she begged. "They are always dying on me. I have terrible luck. I have to tell you a secret, Hugh." He prepared to hear that she did not, in fact, wish to make love with him, that she had somehow engineered the seizure to interrupt them. He bowed his head. "Go." "This isn't the original Bozo," she whispered, as if the dog himself might not know the fact. "The original Bozo got run over at an intersection when I opened the door to pull in my coat tail." "That sounds terrible." It was. He just jumped right out and got hit by a van, right in front of me. It was awful. And the van driver was so mean to me, just yelling and yelling about how irresponsible I was. Who needs that? Anyhow, I couldn't stand to tell my kids, so I just went and got a new Bozo. I mean, that's the kind of thing you do with pets, right? I mean, before it was only gerbils or goldfish, but why not dogs? And the breeder still had his brother, thank the Lord. But to be honest, I think the second Bozo was kind of a reject. Maybe he's a little retarded. It took my husband a week to figure out what was different. "You're doing the best you can, Stacy. Don't beat yourself up." These phrases, which in general disappointed Hugh, seemed to be, at this moment, terribly useful. "Do you think faux Bozo would mind sharing his Valium?" "Oh no, he's got plenty. Take 2. Stacy shook out 2 of the yellow tablets. "Maybe I'll have one, for my nerves." They swallowed their pills. "Bozo has this one great trick," she said. "Next time, let's go to McDonald's, and I'll show you. He can take a hamburger into his mouth, the whole thing, and chew, 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 and then send out the lettuce untouched." "Touched," she corrected herself, "but intact, like a wrinkled dollar rejected from a Coke machine." "Bozo," she sighed, running a finger along his gums. "Ah, for the love of monkeys, what am I going to do?" "Next time," Hugh thought dreamily. In his sleep, the dog suddenly threw his head up and sneezed, a sodden mess on their bare laps, his tongue now gripped between his teeth. "Bless you," Hugh said automatically. Stacy clutched at his arm, her large pale breast squashed against him, her hair on his shoulder. "I love you, Hugh," she said, miserable. "I truly do." Hugh mumbled his line into her forehead. It seemed a rule, was certainly a reflex. And most important in this instance, it was true. He loved Stacy. A hole opened in Hugh's chest when he said those words, a place like a wound he'd decided to inflict upon himself, as if he'd suddenly drawn a target on his breastbone and invited the arrows to fly. He loaded the sedated dog into her car, then stood at the driver's door, unwilling to let her climb in and go away. That man she lived with suddenly enraged him. He wasn't used to being enraged. Its heat distracted him, foreign, novel, a companion to the vulnerability that had arrived with his declaration of love. He felt nearly proud of his rage, as if he might need to demonstrate it. How would that happen? How had love led him to rage? How had the dog led to love? The equation was mysterious.